Guys, it's okay. I have this.
My name is Luna Lopez, and I'm running for Congress in Florida's 4th District. I stand for medical freedom, school choice, and defending our Second Amendment rights. And my district is winnable. Visit me at lunalopezforcongress.com.
Well, just first off, thank you so much for joining the show. I don't know if you remember, you probably talked to a lot of people, but we did a email interview last year, and you definitely intrigued me, and I actually gave you my endorsement on that article. So I wanted to follow up with you since we are so close to the election itself to actually get to know you a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just tell me just how the campaign's going. I mean, give us an update.
So it's going pretty strong. I've been campaigning for a year and a half. I'm still here. I qualified. I will be on the ballot. Another person did jump in the race, but not too worried about that. We have 40 days to go or so. And as I've been canvassing around the district, I mean, it's pretty clear that most people are really kind of fed up with the incumbent and really ready for some, heavy hitting representation. And that's what I'm here to give them.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So the person that came in, was it another Republican or?
Yeah, she kind of came in out of nowhere. There was, redistricting happened. So there was a new district added here in Northeast Florida, which is the 4th district. So it changed. So the district I'm in now used to be 4. So the new one is now 4. This one became 5. She lives in 4, but a lot of people were in that race, and there was a rumor going around that I wasn't going to qualify for this district here. So so she was recruited by a local PAC out here to run because they were thinking I wasn't going to qualify, and people just listen to rumors too much. And so she kind of just really is just kind of out of nowhere, really.
Right.
But I'm not too worried about it because I've been campaigning for a year and a half, and I've built up some pretty good awareness that I'm here and that I'm the one that's gonna get bloody for them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's nice. Get bloody for them. You should make a shirt of that. Yeah, but that's great. I definitely see the momentum for you. As I've been watching you, kind of from the distance, and you've been doing really, really well. So I think you do have a really good chance in taking out the incumbent. So I just wanted to talk a little bit. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so I won't take up too much of your time. You were one of the ones that were really outspoken about CRT. Do you still feel the same way on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a woman of color, it's just not something that I can ever stand for, because what it truly is Black elitists that are racist against their own race, that are working for the white liberal man. I will say this: the original curriculum for CRT was something that was developed somewhere in the ballpark range of 30 years ago, and it is definitely not the same as what you're seeing now. It was hijacked, and it's just not something I stand behind, because I'm not going to ever teach children who are Black and brown that they are just incapable of achieving great things because of their race.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the exact same way. So I also wanted to get your thoughts on, the kind of ties in with the CRT, the whole teachers teaching young kids in elementary schools about sex and sexuality and gender, transsexualness. I don't know if that's a word, but teaching them about, it's okay to be a girl if you're not really a girl. I mean, how do you feel that that's going to affect the next generation with this CRT, also with all this gender swapping and all that?
Here's the thing. I think people are really confused about conservatives and where they stand on sexuality. The reality of it is, we don't care what your sexual orientation is. That's between you and God and nobody else. So, it's not our place to sit and judge whatever lifestyle you live. Where we draw the line is introducing that type of thinking to a child before the parent feels it's necessary to have those conversations, because what's going on is you now have a normal phase of childhood development where you're trying to figure out your identity, and the minority of the LGBT community is targeting that phase because what they want to do is create a minority, because what they want to do is change the Constitution and some of its wording that is in favor of very ambiguous uh, uh, expressions, which totally deny science. And my concern is if a child cannot identify what a female is or a male is simply by looking at them, this is going to hijack their critical thinking abilities to the point where it could have bad effects in certain professional branches, and we can't have doctors making decisions because they're looking at you saying, well, I don't care what your blood says, I don't care if your blood says you're a female. I can't tell if you're, I have to decide how to treat you based on what you say you are. So there's certain levels of critical thinking that this is also destroying. But for the LGBT community to insert their ideology into a child's mind at a stage where wanting to identify, learn who you are, it's completely, it's criminal, because that is the parent's right to do so. And especially when it comes to the psychological mind, it's something that the parent strives for since the day of birth, to protect and raise a healthy adult. So that is the parent's job to decide when those conversations need to occur with their child, if at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, spot on. I totally agree with that. It is completely up to the parents. And the fact that
Yep.
somebody at a school who sees my son for what, 8 hours a day would
Right.
take it upon themselves to teach him about sex and it's okay to be a woman, girl if you're not. That just that kills me. That
Right.
enrages me. I can't even imagine that.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So with the recent news of obviously Roe v. Wade being overturned, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and kind of the backlash we're seeing from all that.
I think all the backlash is theater. I just saw an ad on Craigslist looking for crisis actors. In the description, it mentioned, this whole thing with abortion rights. So I think a lot of it is staged, because the reality of it is, number one, Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade banned abortions after 15 weeks. Um, the left was adding a week to it and a week to it and a week to it, to the point where babies were dying on tables at full term from hypothermia. So the reason why Roe v. Wade was overturned and the state was given back the power to decide when they would put the limits on it is because we gave the left an inch and they took a mile. At the end of the day, all of this crying and whining, to me, it's just, it's laughable, because abortion rights are, they're acting like abortion rights are being taken away when in reality they're not. You can go to a state that governs alongside your morals, but I think every state in a republic has the right to decide where they're going to draw the line. And if you don't agree with that, you can move your butt right on to another state. That's the beautiful thing about being an American, is you can choose
Yep.
where you want to go. You can do that.
Yeah, I've always thought that, Roe being in like law basically always was kind of strange. I always thought it should be back to the states, so that way it's
Right.
really up to the people in the majority. If that state majority wants abortions, which I'm totally against, but if they want abortions, then they elect people to represent them to make abortion possible. So,
Right. That's how you
yeah,
keep your constituents happy. For example, Alabama has outlawed abortions. That's because the people of Alabama, as a
right.
majority, are pro life and do not agree with abortion. If you want the option, even up to 6 weeks, well, I guess you're going to have to move away from Alabama. So, here's the thing: you cannot um, use rare occurrences like a woman. I keep hearing this argument that says, well, women are going to die if they're not allowed to have an abortion, but that's absolutely false, because there are a separate set of medical laws that provide for the protection of the mother if her life is in danger. That's a whole separate thing.
Hmm.
And that choice falls on the mother, and that is her responsibility to bear. And because whatever happens in the afterlife, you're going to have to answer for that. But if you're in that rare of a situation, the law does provide certain medical allowances. And then the other thing is, what about rape? Well, again, pregnancy from rape is extremely rare. The argument they're standing on is like, it's very rare. Most abortions are not because of rape or because the mother's life was in danger. It's because they're using it as birth control. So
Right.
we need to actually have more open conversation about sex, like using condoms and stuff like that, because there's personal accountability we need to have as a society to prevent pregnancy.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. I mean, I was wondering, I often wonder this, and I always ask people that come on the show and I talk to in person. I mean, just looking at where we are right now, if you would have told me this 20, anyone, if you would have told anyone 20 years ago that we would be okay with abortion up until the day of pregnancy or birth. Also,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have like $6 gas almost. In some areas, it's like 7 or 8 or something. We're gonna give kids under 5, puberty blockers to change their sex. Because they
Right.
feel like a girl, and defund the police and the censorship. I mean, how did we get to freedom to all this just insanity? I mean, how do you think we got there?
It,
I know it's a hard one.
um, I think it's been a very slow conditioning process. If 30 years ago you were to say this is how we're going to do things, and you were to just plop it on people like that, they would say absolutely not. Because our moral compass was a bit stricter back then, and they knew that. So I think this was a very slow conditioning process, starting in the schools with the conversations that are happening. It's not curriculum. People say, oh, curriculum, curriculum, curriculum. It's not the curriculum. What I've noticed raising children, and I have a 15-year-old, is the staff is carefully selected by the school community. So it's the conversations that these adults are having on the side with each kid, the counselors, the teachers. It's this slow conditioning process. If you want to cause change in a community, you start with children. They're the sponges. You start there. So I think it's been a slow conditioning process with the kids in school.
Yeah, that's so sad, man. So sad.
Yeah.
It's just going against everything that the country is kind of built on. But I think we can change it.
You know,
Especially through elections and getting people like you in there. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
well, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. We need more fighters for just simply what's right and wrong, not people who
Yeah.
fight for for a party. We just need people who will fight for what's right and wrong.
My next question would be the 2020 election. I know you probably talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But do you think it was a fraudulent election and Trump won?
There's so much evidence to show it. And when you look at the fact that Biden, everything he's doing now, he said he was going to do, right? And everybody is unhappy with what he's doing. Even Democrats, as much as I've flown around the country, I can't tell you how many Democrats can't stand this guy. So if you're telling me that the Democrats are even unhappy with what he's doing, why would that many people vote for him when he said he's going to do this? It doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't believe that, you know, upwards of 83 million people voted for this man. They knew that what they were going to do, and they were using those 4 years to coordinate this, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, exactly. It's really it's really terrifying that they were able to do that. In your, I don't know if you've seen the movie 2000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza, but how do you think we prevent this from going forward?
Oh, it's very easy. I mean, you have to be there in person with your ID and has to be verified. If you can't be there, you better be in the hospital, incapacitated, like you can't walk, or you are like deployed for military service. And that's it. If you can't get there in person and show your ID, then it shouldn't be, a ballot shouldn't be accepted. And you also need to keep the journalist camera watching the counting process through the whole night. None of this taping up windows, vans pulling up and in and out. You need um, characterized, classified, specific people working, doing these things that are accountable to something independent of a party.
Yeah, absolutely. That I still see that in my head when they were boarding up the windows. I'm like, oh my, what is this? What is going on here? Oh my
If
god.
I was in charge of the whole thing, the second that I would have heard of windows being boarded up, I would have stopped every single state, dead in its tracks, stop, pause, until that one office takes down those covers. Stop the whole
Hmm.
thing and wait. Because if you've got the power to do so, why not use it?
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. So just two more questions here. Trump or DeSantis running for president? Yeah.
Well, I think Trump. I think I love Trump. I think he did. I think what he did was timely. I think he woke up a lot of people. Um, but what I think I would go for DeSantis because DeSantis has a bit more of a strategic mind. I think Trump's biggest mistake was not firing every single person in that White House, just like Obama did. Obama fired everybody. Trump did not do that. I think DeSantis has the backbone to do what needs to be done without necessarily being as crass as Trump. Even though I personally thought Trump was hilarious because he said everything that we were thinking. I was never offended by anything Trump said, but I think that DeSantis has a little bit more youth on his side, and I think he's got a little more stamina. And I think DeSantis won't let people get in his ear as much as Trump has, because some of these endorsements that Trump has been giving out have been a bit questionable. I think DeSantis would definitely be the better choice.
I got you. Yeah, you make some great points there. So, just my last question, and then we can wrap up. What is the number one issue facing your districts, your congressional districts right now?
It's the schools. It's making sure that our schools are a safe place for our children to attend, that is free of political, psychological agenda. And that's look, these kids are going to be the ones taking care of us when we're older. So, it's
Yeah,
hard to disagree with constituents with that. The schools have to be really dismantled and rebuilt. We need people in the schools on the local level that have strong moral convictions, that understand that government is limited, and also understand that we have many cultures, a very blended community. So you have to give leeway for that. But when you have a universal moral compass, your cultures do not conflict with that, because um, universal morals are across the board, and we need people that are really really convicted with universal morals, you know um, focusing on the school system from the local level to the federal level. So that's definitely the biggest concern here.
gotcha. Yeah, and we kind of talked about that, previously. With it starts with the kids, so I completely agree with you there, Luna. I appreciate you taking your time and speaking with us. And I mean, if you want to plug anything, feel free to take your time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me. My social media on all the platforms, just type at real Luna Lopez and you will be able to find me. My website is lunalopezforcongress.com. I'm running in Florida's 5th district in the greater Jacksonville area, St. Augustine area. And if you want to reach out to me directly, my email address is info@lunalopezforcongress.com.
All right, and all that stuff will be down below, guys. So I thank you so much, Luna. Best of luck to you, and hope to see you in Congress.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.